Yes, we're going to go over the Trump speech down there in Nashville at the Bitcoin Magazine conference. We'll take a look at Bitcoin, a short-term trade setup to the downside, and how we could possibly get some entries for some longs if you are more macro bullish, which is pretty much our stance as we've discussed here on the show over the last few weeks. We had what's called, a trend reversal on the daily time frame, and then don't fight the daily uptrend or the daily downtrend. And we are making higher highs and higher lows on the daily time frame. And I do think there is potential for a short-term pullback, especially if we close a bearish engulfing candle on the daily today, and especially if volatility begins to expand. So daily volatility. Now, here's what I do like, and I'm still, a little more biased for an upside move here, but I do believe the market makers are going to give us some challenge. It's not going to be just a straight up moon to Valhalla or whatever they want to talk about in crypto land. Probably going to be some sideways chop, and we want to look at where are potential entries if we're looking to get long. And I think this is a very attractive area coming in at 60,848. That is on the daily time frame. And if we do see volatility begin to tick up, and more importantly, the stochastic get out of the critical zone into the, just this signature right here, this guy right here. So I wish I had a little drawing tool that was. So as we are leaving that critical zone, that's kind of a rejection there. This would be another area right here, right? So what happened to price during those time frames? Well, let's just mark it off here. Boom. We're leaving the critical zone. I'm doing this blind here. So of course, I just want to give an example of, what is a potential, daily signature. Going to give you to the downside. Now this is as we're in an uptrend, and we get the first, real downside move since the last correction. But long story short, this one had a 11% move down. This one back over here, probably a little bit deeper. Dang it. So move down, boom, 22% down. So that kind of signature would be a warning sign for the bears, right? Next thing you really want to look at is the critical areas of support and resistance, which are going to be, and again, we talked about selling off the 786, tapping that liquidity right there, and that looks like we're finally going to get the move to the downside. Interesting. Very, very interesting, and you can see some of the altcoins starting to pull back. We'll take a look at some of the underlying market dynamics, what could or could not happen versus the FOMC meeting this week where they're, potentially going to put in a rate cut. Let's really quick look at that. The rate hike tool, I'm going to pull up, that's loading. The fear and greed index says we are currently in the greedy zone at a 74. So we're way back up there, and that is not unlikely a time where they like to throw it in people's faces to the downside, to the upside, to the every which way. And so short-term setup to the downside. We'll go over that in just a second. But fear and greed index, always get an idea to keep an open eye upon that. What else happened at the Bitcoin seminar? He said the federal government holds 210,000 Bitcoin if elected. My administration will keep 100% of all the Bitcoin that the U.S. owns. Here is Watch Guru, and he said one day fire Gary Gensler. He will create a strategic U.S. government national reserve for Bitcoin. They'll keep 100% of the Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to the moon. Never sell your Bitcoin. I mean, these are all things Trump said at the convention. Bitcoin will one day probably surpass the market cap of gold. What? For all you gold holders out there, don't get me wrong, I love me some gold, but I reaffirm my pledge to Ross Ulbricht to get him out of jail. There will never be a CBDC. Bitcoin and crypto will skyrocket. Bitcoin, I mean, this is just fantastic. He said everything he needed to say to pump the market, and that's why it's very likely being a bit of a buy the rumor, sell the news type of event. What else I want to look at? The leverage ratio and CBD and open interest. So right now the liquidation levels, which I have on my other chart here somewhere. Let's see if I can find it. Come on, give me a little break here. Here it is. For Bitcoin, the liquidation levels currently, people were net long right here. Now flipping to the short side. So after shaving off a lot of the open interest, that's interesting to see what is the open interest doing right now. Let me see, where is it? So if open interest is coming down as yeah, so longs taking profits, open interest coming down. And then I want to see the spot CBD. I'm not totally good at this stuff. Funding rates, let's see. Funding rates are relatively low, so probably a decent time to be building some longs there. You can see, I think there's a heat map. Let's see the liquidation levels on, according to this chart. Aggregate liquidations, bunch of longs getting liquidated right there. Okay. ICP putting in a bit of a reversal. I can see on my other screen right now. Same thing for Bitcoin on the hourly time frame, just pulling back into our zone. And what likely happens, I mean, this Fibonacci retracement is pretty key here, but we're going from the all-time high to the low on a wick basis, and we just bounced it up to the 786. So what often happens, we come all the way back down to the 236. So do I think we're going to get there? No, I think it will get bought up somewhere in this zone between the 382 and the 236. That would be ideal if you ask me. I don't have a crystal ball. This isn't financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I think there is an easy way to manage the risk upon that with even a wick below that last low. So, you know, what does a trade setup look like? Well, depending upon where you get in, but let's say we want to layer in, you know, 3 or 4 orders in this area right here in the red zone. And risk to reward ratio. And again, that is that $84,000 target, which is not out of the woods, not out of the unforeseeables. This is completely rational and reasonable. Could get a lot more interesting here. Don't want to get anybody too excited though. And just taking a look at the next level up, 100,000. Nice round number. Probably does get rejected there if we do make it up into that zone. Another bullish thing for the week. Let's take a look and take some of this off here. We closed a weekly pin bar, doji, Jesus candle, whatever you want to call it. Looks like indecision, but the buyers were stronger than the sellers. And things are about to flip up, or are crossed up on the weekly stochastic. And volatility is just beginning to increase. Want to see it get above 15%. We're above 11%. That would mean liftoff. That would mean the 40% move baking is really in effect, getting ready to go, getting ready to act out. And I've been wanting to short this ICP all day, and I think I finally got my signal. Crisis averted. Time to let it go down. ICP. Why not? Why not take a little short here? And I will show you why. Actually, I don't want to take it here. Anyways, I'm going to get back onto our Bitcoin analysis. So lift off on the weekly. Excuse me for that, guys. I really apologize. So what is the risk to reward on this trade setup? And I'd probably just tighten up the stop losses, right? I mean, if you really want to tighten it up, you know, somewhere right there, but more conservatively, I would be looking like that below the prior wick, or even below this guy right here. Anyways, long story short, Bitcoin very likely to take some kind of a leg up. But first, short term, so that is good for those of you sitting there in cash on the sidelines, waiting to deploy, wondering where could the potentials take me. If I could buy a higher low, how would I do that? Well, really, how long do these daily corrections take, from top to bottom after a nice move up, depending upon, but the average correction, during this last little cycle is probably somewhere in this distance here. So how many days? 47 days on that one. High to low, 37 days on that one. From the high to the low, 30 days, right? So where does 30 days from this high? Again, just using a round number here. 30 days takes us into August 21st. August 21st, so maybe end of August, catching the last quarter of the year for that bull run. But all's got to be confirmed with volatility increasing and the stochastic getting out of the bullish control zone. If it does cross back up, and today Stokes will cross back up above 68,283. That number will probably get lower tomorrow, but we will check in on it for you guys tomorrow. And other than that, looks like the correction may be, finally upon us. And the other thing, and great potential is to get a bit of a throwback, or just some onwards continuation, and the Wyckoff kind of stutter step, right? Which is kind of doing it right now, but I think more realistically it would be boom, 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 and then thrown up. Something like that would be very, very bullish, but short term looks like it wants to come back down. So that, my analysis for today. NASDAQ still has a little bit more down, and same thing with the S&P and Dow. I don't have it up on my screen. Somebody took it off. Tethered dominance taking a leg up. Just checking in on that. Tethered dominance and total 3 here as well on the daily, consolidating. Reclaim the range, that's bullish, but don't want to get kicked back down in there. So, let's keep an eye on that as well. And last thing, Bitcoin dominance. Wow. Are we going to double top that Bitcoin dominance here at the 0.5? Nope. I think we're probably going to take a stab higher. It looks like more likely than not, this falling wedge pattern is bunk, and this thing is going to push a little bit higher as people see the Bitcoin dominance out there is, it's prevalent, Bitcoin dominance. But Solana as well. I mean, everything's looking bullish, grinding at the highs. The other one I'd keep my eye on is Casper. Casper looks like it is trying to make new all-time highs today. Isn't quite there yet. How do we know this is a good drive to the upside, or we could get some continuation? Well, we've got low volatility. Momentum is to the upside. And we're just beginning to expand, getting the first tick up. Volatility is at the lowest level ever. I do think this thing is going to resolve to the upside. And it is going to be fantastic. Whether we come down one more time or not, I don't care. Ultimately, I do think liftoff is pretty much upon us here. Daily time, it's almost 5 o'clock. Holy smokes, I got to get out of here. Long day, lots of fun. I will see you guys in the next one. Have a blessed and highly favored rest of your evening, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.